minutes if you want to share the links.
Okay, Pia, are we live?
Okay.
Yes, sir, we're live now.
All right, let's share the links. 5:02. Okay, you have the links. You can share the links. So, all right. Good afternoon once again. Magandang hapon, maayong hapon to all our kakwentuhan, no, on a Friday. It's Friday once again, and we are having our Kwentuhang Cybersecurity again. And thank you very much, Miss Hannah Marcelo. Good afternoon. Miss Pearl Gliza, good afternoon. And this one, it's difficult to read the characters. So, ehem muna tayo daw. So, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so this afternoon, we have a very interesting topic. It's about protecting our identity online. And no better group or entity can talk about protecting our identity, but CrowdStrike, who is on the front line in the fight against compromising identity. So our guest for oh, by the way, since it's still pandemic, we are giving again 3 winners, 2,000 pesos prizes for if you can answer the question correctly and very quickly, then you will win 2,000 pesos. And for that, we also thank our guest for tonight, today, this afternoon, CrowdStrike. If I can just introduce our guest. So, Mr. Sanket Basin, the Senior Product Manager, CrowdStrike Asia Pacific and Japan. No? So Mr. Bassett, as a cybersecurity specialist for CrowdStrike Southeast Asia, he brings more than 12 years of experience in IT security. Prior to CrowdStrike, Sanket was with McAfee for more than 6 years and has extensive experience in helping large enterprises or enterprise organizations across Southeast Asia. He has been implementing comprehensive security programs also. So in addition, Mr. Sanket has demonstrated and deployed security architectures to strengthen protection for numerous customers where controls may have been breached and sensitive information compromised. Medyo mabigat. And Ms. Sherry Tan is the project lead for identity protection. So it's, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about securing and protecting your identity. So Ms. Sherry Tan is here with us to give us a short presentation, on about protecting our identity. She has always been in the cybersecurity space, working with industry-leading vendors with specialized in threat detection and prevention. And she has experience in working with customers to solve an array of cybersecurity challenges. And the third guest that we have that's also part of CrowdStrike, she is one of us, a Filipina, and she is the regional sales manager in the Philippines for CrowdStrike, Miss Rochelle Malimban Cruz. So she's not a stranger to us. She is a friend and someone who is we always interact since we are in the same industry. Si Miss Uchi. Without further delaying this very interesting topic, I would like to give the floor to Miss Sherry. She will give a 10 to 15-minute presentation, and after that we can discuss. You can ask questions. You can comment or whatever you want to do in the chat box. Miss Sherry.
All right, thank you. I'm just going to bring up my slides. Good evening, everybody. And let's get going. All right, just to check, my slides are coming up okay?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Okay. Thanks for the introduction. Again, Sherry, I am the practice lead for identity protection for Asia in CrowdStrike. Right, so everybody must be thinking, why identity protection of everything that we can never talk about? And just to highlight some statistics, right, or actually maybe one major statistic is that if we look back on all the breaches that has happened, 80% of the breaches out there involves identity, either a credential abuse or a stolen identity in one way or another. So, you know, when we have to deal with breaches, when we're going to talk about how we're going to stop breaches, identity is definitely at the core and center of everything. But why, or rather in this, or rather what I want to present today is how do we actually dissect, right, the modern attack. The modern attack to us, in our definition, is an identity-related attack. And why is it an identity-related attack? Because the attackers are getting, you know, smarter and smarter every day. Over the years, they have devised thousands and thousands of ways to break into our environment. And they've realized that the best way to do that and go undetected is to be able to get a set of valid credentials. So if they can get their hands on a set of valid credentials for your environment, they can essentially move within your environment undetected, right? So they can move in your environment and you have a very difficult time detecting their activities within your environment. So what we really want to talk about today is that the modern attack involves having a set of valid credentials, right? Modern attackers are going to have valid credentials. And how are we supposed to deal with it?
Sherry,
yeah.
Sorry, can you do a full screen mode? Because the notes are visible.
This way. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. Where was I? Oh, yes. So a modern attack today involves the attackers having a set of valid credentials. And this is also seen by CrowdStrike, right? So CrowdStrike, here at CrowdStrike, we do a lot of monitoring of our customers' environment, and we do mitigate a lot of campaigns. And in 2021, interestingly, it might be a bit small, but up here, everything in bright red is actually campaigns that have valid accounts and all the TTPs that are below it. But it just shows that, you know, in all the campaigns that we have mitigated, valid accounts is definitely something that's coming on top of the list, right? So what is an example of a modern attack? I think we're all very familiar with ransomware. Ransomware is a prime example of a modern attack, largely because it's just lucrative for attackers, and that's where they're going to spend their time and energy on in terms of developing the best techniques to deploy their ransomware, because they're going to be able to earn extremely good money from it. But what is ransomware, or at the heart of ransomware, what is the problem? Right? For many years, to a lot of organizations, ransomware is a money problem. Do I have enough money to pay the attacker if they come and attack my environment? But at CrowdStrike here, we believe that the ransomware, an example of a modern attack, is a two-part problem. So the first part of it is malicious code execution, whereby they encrypt the data within your environment, within your endpoints, and by doing that through malicious code. The other part of the problem is gaining identity access, right? So they need to get identity access because encrypting 2 or 3 endpoints within your environment is not going to impact organizations. What they need to do is they need to encrypt at least 80 or 90% of your environment before they can hold you ransom. So the more identity access they have, the higher the impact at the end of the day. So ransomware really is a two-part problem: a malicious code execution and an identity access. So all this while, when we build our defenses and when we build our threat detection and prevention capabilities, we've modeled it against a kill chain. Everybody's very familiar with the kill chain. We've broken it down into 12 very simple steps, but where a lot of focus is around initial access, execution, persistence, and trying to detect and prevent them along the way. And we assume that the attackers are behaving this way. Now, what is the challenge here? The challenge really is that the attackers are starting right in the middle of the kill chain. So we call that fracturing the kill chain. And when they start right in the middle of the kill chain, all our assumptions of them starting from step 1 kind of goes out the window, because we're building our prevention and detection capabilities assuming that they're going to behave step 1, step 2, step 3. But no, they are starting from step 6 and they are moving along the kill chain from step 6. And that's what we call identity-based attacks, because what they have essentially done is that they have gained a set of valid credentials and they're moving within your environment with that set of valid credentials. And when they do that, there's 2 key problems that happens or that is posed for us. The first problem is that they can go undetected because they now have a set of valid credentials. The second problem is that they are able to move very quickly and create an impact very quickly. This essentially shortens our window to prevent or to detect and prevent an attacker when they start from credential access, which is fracturing the kill chain. So just as a recap, right? A ransomware or a modern attack is a 2-part problem. We've gone extremely well in managing the malicious code execution, which happens from step 1 to step 6. Where we really need to look at is how do we manage the situation when they start, their attack from step 6 onwards. And here's an example, right? A perfect example of something that we observed this year in July, where the attacker has actually gotten a set of valid credentials and started his attack. So he actually did a phishing to get a set of valid credentials from the environment. And he uses that to move within the environment to get his data from O365 and then to leverage a DC sync and eventually getting an impact on the environment. So again, he starts by having very valid credentials. And if we just look at some of the threat reports that we have, right? Having valid credentials or compromised credentials is definitely a very key part of a threat actor's behavior today. Again, because it just simply makes it so much easier for them to move within their environment. So again, ransomware, a modern attack, is a 2-part problem We've done extremely well in looking at threat detection and prevention capabilities around malicious code execution. If they're doing something funny in our environment, we're going to be able to catch it. But the question now becomes, how do we then look at it when they are in our environment with valid credentials, when they have identity access within our environment? How are we going to deal with that problem? Because ultimately, number one, it is very easy for them to go undetected. And number two, the window for us to actually detect and prevent them becomes extremely, extremely small. And I believe that's, a large part of the topic today on why and how we should be looking at protecting our identities. And, whether is it just user identities or service account, machine accounts, these are all considered various types of identities within our environment that we do need to look at and see how we can better protect it so that, we do not succumb in the hands of the attacker. So with that, I conclude the very short presentation, and I think we can get into a discussion around this.
Thank you, Sherry.
No problem.
That's it's actually a presentation, a very short presentation, but I myself and my colleagues can relate, right? I like the presentation on the attacks using valid credentials, because that's what's really happening right now, right? I mean, attackers are acquiring information, credentials, for that matter, from somewhere else and using it to compromise the environment of a specific target. So it's like not necessarily compromising other sources, but you can actually buy, right? You can actually buy credentials from the dark web and then use it to attack other
organizations.
Other organizations. So, I'll start the first question with your presentation. For a regular user, it seems to be very difficult to, for example, a banking customer like me, right? Logging into my bank accounts or logging into any platform where my credentials that I'm using is already compromised somewhere else, because it's very common, right, to use the same email with the same password. How can we improve the possibility of preventing this kind of scenario?
I think there are there are definitely a few strategies that an organization can adopt. We can start with the simplest password hygiene kind of policies, ensuring that the organization have a robust way to ensure that employees change their password ever so regularly. It can be 90 days, it can be 60 days. It depends on the policies within the environment. But also on top of that, the additional effort to ensure that credentials of your employees are not compromised. Just because I changed my password today does not mean that my password will not get leaked tomorrow. And if my password policy is to change every 90 days, that means I'm exposing my organization for 89 days, right? And especially if we keep maybe 5 different type of passwords and then we just rotate among the 5, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. So I think the basic process and basic password hygiene is there. And then the second dimension to it is a continuous way to monitor, right? Your access rights, for example. In the event that you do get compromised, should you have more privilege than you should be having, then that poses unnecessary risk for the organization. So having a way to, again, right, if I do that check every 6 months, yes, from a configuration standpoint, maybe I can do a checkbox and then, okay, great, you are well set for the next 6 months. But as roles change, or if you change roles in between, or human mistake, and you're accidentally granted more privilege than you should have, then there should be a way to, identify that your access right has changed. And I think the last strategy that organizations can adopt very easily is a continuous scoring or a continuous baselining of your behavior, right? So if you generally only access 5 applications on a day-to-day basis, and suddenly you are accessing an application that you have never accessed, or you're accessing a critical asset that was, never on your access list, is that something that we want to be able to block it? Or, as an organization, we want to say, hey, we want to let the business carry on. We want to do a step-up authentication to verify that you are the one. Because in the event that your credentials are stolen, somebody else is trying to use your account. If we do a step-up authentication, you as the real user gets the 2FA prompt. And you can say, oh, that's not me. I'm going to reject that. And that's alarm bells for the security operations team to say something fishy is going on in the environment. So I think those are the 3 basic, strategies to kind of manage this kind of a compromised account situation.
Just to add to Sherry's point on your personal question, if usually, customer, they keep their personal password and sometimes the corporate password the same. So if someone compromises the corporate password, very highly likely they might get into your personal account. So always enable, the multi-factor authentication for your personal emails also, Gmail and other. Every month I get a notification on my 2FA from Gmail, my personal Gmail, that someone from Uzbekistan is trying to log in into Gmail. So at least, with a multi-factor, I know someone is trying, means my password is compromised, so I have to change the password. So yeah, MFA is a great strategy.
Actually, on that note, just on a personal basis, Apple now has this function to tell you that your password is either reused or sort of compromised. So if you go into your Apple, if you're an iPhone user and you go into your settings and your security settings, you'll actually be able to see, they'll tell you which of the accounts that you have logged into has the same password and you kind of need to change it, or, there has been a compromise on it. So not just for corporate, but personal security also becomes very important.
But what I'd like to, before I give the floor to my colleagues, and if we have questions from the crowd, we need technology to help our enterprise and our community, right? It's very difficult if we're going to ask everyone to do the things that Sherry and Sanket mentioned. It won't be sustainable for sure. So we're gonna need a technology to help out in the fight against this menace, or these threats. And CrowdStrike is definitely on the front line in this fight, right? Because what can we expect from CrowdStrike to help us in this identity compromise or identity hacking, or even asset compromise? Where will CrowdStrike and when will CrowdStrike come in?
Sanket, do you want to take that, or I shall take that?
I can take it. Yeah, a quick answer to the question. Yes, technology is really required, and CrowdStrike, we have a solution called Identity Protection, Falcon Identity Protection. And it's a very simple deployment because all the identity access pass via Active Directory, the domain controller. So CrowdStrike agent, we can deploy in the domain controller, and sitting in the domain controller, we see each and every live authentication traffic, whether it's a local login or over the network login, any domain joined machine you're trying to log in, we see those authentication traffic. We monitor them, like Sherry said, we baseline each and every user profile, what they are accessing, and if they are deviating from the profile. And sitting in the domain controller, we can protect the attacks like golden ticket, silver ticket, pass the hash. These are some of the modern attack techniques used by the attackers when it comes to identity attack. And finally, sitting in domain controller, we can help achieving what Sherry said, step up authentication. Like say, for example, if Sherry is trying to log in into Active Directory, which she should not. If user Sherry trying to log in into Active Directory via RDP, I can throw a multi-factor authentication. I can either block it or have a step-up authentication. So yeah, basically there is a way to control the identity-based attack and also to monitor your identity access across the organization to maintain that baseline. Sherry, if I missed anything.
No, perfect. I think just expanding on that a little bit here at CrowdStrike, we are combining the concept of identity risk and a device risk. So what Sanket explained and what we've been talking about is, protecting the identity. And definitely today's conversation is focusing on protecting the identity. But what we really want to advocate for is a holistic view of combining identity and a device risk concept, because ultimately we want to be looking at as many risk vectors, as many attack vectors that we can. And the device risk is definitely something that we do need to look at, because if I am a legitimate user and I log into a critical asset, but my device is compromised, right? It opens up a new avenue for the attacker to land on my device and therefore exploit my device and start moving within the environment. So as we explore identity risk, I think we also should keep at the back of our mind that when we solution a robust security solution, we need to be combining these two concepts together.
All right, very interesting. Would you guys like to break the ice for a moment with our question and answer portion? Tin, are we ready to fire up the first question for our 2,000 ayuda or for groceries? I think we were given 3 questions from our guest. And so don't forget the hashtag PixPro before your answer, so that your answer will be accepted. If not, then your answer will be invalidated. Okay, so here's the first question. If you were listening, you'd be able to answer this question. Let's post the question on the chat box. So identity protection is important in today's security architecture because of how many percent of cyber attacks that have an identity component to it. So how many percent of cyber attacks involves identity? Oh, so we have a first answer. Who was the first one? Is it Roger? Roger Montenegro? All
Yes,
right.
Roger.
So,
Hi.
okay, we have a winner, Mr. Roger. Mr. Roger, where are you from? I think VP Oka is around, no? But he's not. Okay, so Mr. Roger is the winner for the first.
For CrowdStrike agent, we can deploy in the domain.
Okay. Was that a comment? All right, so let's do the second question. What type of identities do we need to protect? Okay. What type of identities do we need to protect? So, medyo may hirap-hirap to ah. Oh. Password? No. Identities. Valid credentials. Well, users, valid credentials. Can we accept that? User, yeah. So we have one answer of user. Okay, maybe we can accept the user answer, right? So the first one who answered user is Mr. Cortez Tan. Credential, valid credentials. Yeah, Mr. Cortez. Okay. All right, our third question. Okay, we have a complete answer from Mr. Maki, users and machines. So we will take the answer of Mr. Maki Barillo. He answered correct, or she answered correctly. Users and machines. All right. So the third question is, what are the two parts of ransomware? Two parts of ransomware. Okay, nice. Two parts of ransomware: remote code, execution, and identity access. Okay, so who was the first one? First part, malicious code execution, and second part, identity access. I think we have a winner with this. What is your name? This Chinese-looking character. So, siya yung winner, no? Yung Chinese-looking character. Okay. So for the Chinese-looking character username, Mr. Joven or Joven Garrido. Okay. So Joven or Joven, you won the third prize of 2,000 pesos for your ayuda, no? Because it's pandemic. All right. So we continue the discussion. My colleagues, do you have questions? Fire away.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chair, I have a question. So thank you, Sherry, Sanket, and my friend Uchi for joining this week's Kwentuhang Cybersecurity. I have a follow-up question. So you mentioned that you do baselining, a user's activity or behavior. So what is a good benchmark for you to have a reliable profile, user profile? Is it 3 months, 6 months? So can be answered by either Sherry, Sanket, or Uchi.
Actually, because of the way we are designed and the way CrowdStrike has always ensured that the architecture is simple but effective, anywhere between 48 to 72 hours, we actually start seeing a user baseline formed already. So it's nowhere between 3 to 6 months. It's more like a 3 to 6 day time frame for us at CrowdStrike, right? I think if we waited 3 to 6 months, I'm not sure that window of risk is something my customers want to be exposed to.
That's very good. Thank you, Sherry.
Okay. For me, Mr. Chair, I just want to share my thoughts on the presentation of Sherry, but I want to divide it into two. First, I want to take a step back and relate the topic to our common viewers. No? So, in which area does our common viewers, not an IT expert, not a cybersecurity expert, will be affected by this identity. So first and foremost, as Mr. Chair mentioned a while ago, it is their banking accounts, right? So all of us recently now, we have our own online banking accounts. We have our credit cards, right? We have our social media profiles. So all of these are, very vulnerable and very open to hackers to get your credential. And once they get it, they could use it to exfiltrate money from your bank account, ask help from your friends or colleagues. So what's important? What's the point there? The important is you have to protect your own profile or your own identity on the online world, right? So how to do that is you need to enable. Sorry, I will try to describe this in layman's term. You have to enable some security or paranoid mindset on you that you will be hacked. So what you will do, right? So if this is my online banking account and I have a money on it, how to protect it? So as our colleague from CrowdStrike said a while ago, you have multi-factor authentication. So meaning there are sets of protocols that there would be another alert or another information that will come to you for example on your cell phone or your email that will tell you that you log into something and they need to confirm it, diba? So there's a confirmatory. Now on the part of a cybersec professional, speaking of cybersec professional, to be able to defend to this, so I will agree with Sherry a while ago, so we need a detection mechanism, right? So this is very important. You need to have, again, we will go back to our previous topic on Kwentuhang cyber. Visibility is important, right? So you need to detect this malicious activity that is coming your way. But you would not also rely only on tools of detection. So you have to have your own people analyzing the behavioral aspect. So sometimes the tools are helpful, but moreover, the practice of cybersecurity or being expert on behavioral analysis or forensic would be very crucial in protecting the organization against credential. So that's my take, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Actually, this is very it's a very interesting platform, and it will definitely improve the way we do security if we have this kind of technology. We have a question from our viewers. Is CrowdStrike a software or hardware based?
Uchi, you want to take this?
Yeah. We are cloud native or 100% cloud-based solution. So we don't rely on any hardware. We don't deploy any hardware. It's basically our agent, a single lightweight agent that we deploy to endpoints. So yes, it's software-based.
Are you do you only cater enterprise, or do you also do the user end, individual?
No, we cater only enterprise. We are not into the consumer market. Yeah.
So you're not on the consumer side. You're not on the consumer side.
Not
what we've seen so far is the most vulnerable of all is the consumer side, and with the power of your technology, it might be worth considering to protect the consumer side. Our consumers have been using. I don't have to mention the brands or the vendors on antivirus, right? And I have been saying that antivirus is really not effective. It was never effective, and we still have. My family has been. They're also buying all these antivirus, and I've been telling them it's better to get the free one. At least if you get compromised, you didn't pay for any amount. But one of my sisters, she got compromised with, and she's using a paid antivirus. So it's a little bit difficult to accept. No? So in our viewers, they would really want to have access to a much better and more intelligent platform like yours. It's cloud based. It's not complicated to use, and with traditional antivirus, it's like you buy, once you paid, you're on your own. You update yourself, you monitor yourself, you know it. So that's the reason why the community really needs, especially now that we are already in work from home mode, online learning, right? So even my kids doing online learning, it's difficult because there's nothing out there that we can use for our consumer laptops that can be considered as an intelligent solution. And yours I think is a very intelligent solution, no? Because the good ones are just catering enterprise. And we have seen how the community succumbed to phishing, to scamming, up to the point of, especially on the child exploitation and abuse online. We are very, I mean, it's a very scary incident wherein your kids will be subjected to this horror, and all because there's nothing that where we can buy something like CrowdStrike, right? And I think there's millions of consumers who would want to buy platforms like this, right? So when we are protecting our we always, this is our mantra in our group, no? We can secure in the highest level our environment, but if we do not secure the community, we remain vulnerable. That's the understanding. We can spend millions of dollars protecting our house, but if our neighbors are not secure, we are also not secure, right? And I think we've seen the increase of attacks launched against consumers, especially when we started the lockdown, because there is now a shift to attacking the community, because they are now connected to the most vulnerable network that we call the home network, right? There's no more, they're no longer connected to the office network, which has the billions of pesos kind of a cybersecurity. They're connected to their own network where there's no firewall, there's no intrusion prevention system, there's no policy, there's just a modem, a router, and everything that comes with it, but not security. So is that something that can be considered?
Yeah, because you're right. It's such a insecure network when you are working from home and on your personal devices. So one recommendation from my side is, which is a very easy one. People spend dollars on antivirus and everything. They should spend some little dollar on the storage, the cloud storage, like OneDrive or any personal drive, the G Drive, and a copy of your critical document data should be stored outside your endpoint, outside your laptop or PC. Either a copy should be in the cloud or on your personal hard disk. I prefer cloud for many reasons. You can access from anywhere. Yeah. So in case of any catastrophe, at least you have a copy of the data. You can recover the system back.
Yeah. The problem, Sanket, is that's a very good workaround, right? Especially now that we have Google Drives, we have OneDrives that the probably the community is using. But the horror is not only focused on our data. The horror is really, your IoT is getting compromised, and someone is monitoring your You think you're watching your TV, but it's really your smart TV watching you, right? It could be a very not only for enterprise setup, but maybe enterprise can offer this kind of capability, right, to improve the customers security.
But it's interesting, right? That we are now expanding the topic of it, and if we think about it, what are the attackers actually after? I'm not sure the attacker is gonna make a lot of money if he encrypts my personal laptop, right? But what he wants is he wants to live in my personal laptop and hope that I log in to CrowdStrike or to any corporate environment with my personal laptop so that he can gain access to my corporate environment. And that's where the money is for him, right? Because how much can I pay him? Even if I emptied my bank account, it's not going to be a lot of money. And that's where I think we need to, the term that we call the parameter is shifting, or the parameter is disappearing. And our as we think about our own personal security, it is important, not only for ourselves, but because the way our personal security is set up is going to impact the larger organizations at the end of the day. So I think at some point it becomes very intertwined, it becomes very mixed up. On a personal level, we all should take care of our security. At the corporate level, we should start thinking that the parameter is disappearing, and BYOD high risk devices are going to access your assets, and how do you protect that?
Well, that's very comforting. Mr. Boven, no, he said, although CrowdStrike is not on consumer side, we indeed learn from them that we can use in consumer side. That's good. That's good. So, and follow-up question earlier about whether you are software or hardware based. So, what country your server located or site located? I don't understand very well, but is this something you can answer?
Yeah, our infrastructure is in two geos, US and Europe. So basically our cloud infra, like Uchi said, we are 100% cloud-based. So our cloud infra is in US and the Europe region.
And Mr. Daryl Solangon, our regular viewer, regards to my boss Sanket Masin. Good to see you again. So that's Mr. Daryl Solangon.
Yeah.
So he's also a personality in the cybersecurity industry.
Oh, he's a very well-known one. I used to work with him in McAfee. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yep, he is. I can agree to that. And shout out to Mr. Roland Vasquez, our regular viewers, Miss Faye Samson, Lorraine Cruz, Ferg Liza, Krishna Alejandro, John Cortez, and Miss Diane Yabut. So welcome to our show. We hope to see you again next Friday. Okay. You can also ask questions. Very important to ask all these questions about our identity. No, going back to our discussion, Sherry, I agree with you. However, the attackers. There are probably more than 30 million vulnerable end user laptops in the Philippines alone, right? And these laptops are just as important as our work laptop. And I have seen that. I realized that when we started doing online learning. I had to buy a spare laptop because your daughter will come to you crying because your laptop the laptop is not working, and she's about to go online to do her online learning in 10 or 15 minutes, right? So the need has just gone up to the highest level. So that means if I'm the attacker, and mathematically I can compromise 1 million of these 30 million devices ransomware, and ask even for 100 pesos just for me to give you the key. Give me 100 pesos, and that's times 100 1 million. That's 100 million, right? So everyone is really a probable victim.
Everyone is
Compared,
vulnerable.
Right.
no, everyone compared to me attacking an enterprise who has these billions of pesos worth of security, which will take time for me to compromise, and if I get caught, I'd be in trouble. So the risk there is incomparable, right?
Yeah.
So I think Uchi, I remember telling you this, right? That the vulnerable community, the vulnerable side of the technology is the user. We are really vulnerable, really vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I have talked to parents whose children were terrorized by pedophiles who were able to compromise their kids' computers. Uh, it's unimaginable. It's unimaginable, the horrors. So more than the enterprises right now, there's also a need to help the community in protecting also. Is your solution will really have a huge impact in protecting the community, because it's a good solution, and I don't think it's a complicated solution, right? Unlike before, wherein solutions are really complicated and you need IT people. We have tried that. I mean, Alexis is here with me. We've tried that. Agent based, no
Yeah.
problem for consumers with protection that we have been providing, right? But yes, we hope to have an entity like you to consider protecting the community, consider protecting the teachers, consider protecting the parents and the children, of course. It would really make a difference, a big difference. Now, when you've seen the horrors of online sexual abuse and exploitation to children, you will change your perspectives. Just like you, we were so addicted to protecting the enterprise.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you brought up a topic that definitely touches certain sensitive parts, right? So I think the thing is, if we look at what the enterprises are doing, we can simplify that and apply that at home, right? Let's not be lazy with our personal passwords. Let's set them as, alphanumeric with special characters. Let's take an effort to change it every 90 days, right? Let's educate or educate the community or the children. Don't just click on anything, right? Look at the URL, make sure that it's something that you are comfortable with before you're clicking. These are things that the enterprise has taught us to do, but suddenly when we use our personal computers, we forget.
Yeah, we change. There's a different mindset, right?
Yes. So if we just apply some of that and we teach them to apply some of that, then I think that would help. Of course, the part that's a little bit more easier said than done and a little bit more time consuming is, going through their history logs, their browser logs, or their browser websites, right? We talked about user baselining in the corporate. Look at it, right? You may not understand all the gaming websites, but I'm very sure that if you see a website that is not inappropriate, or rather that's inappropriate, you'll be able to flag it out. So I think if we take what the enterprises are doing from an effort perspective and we try and apply it on the consumer side, we'll make a difference, right? I think each and every one of us doing a little bit at time will definitely make a difference. And just the mindset from kids when they're young, right? All that we know about internet safety, we learn from coming to work because we lived in an era where there was a shift. But kids today, they just click on anything that moves, they will click. So we've kind of got to teach them that, hey, okay, that's not the way to do it. And if you're going to upload something, make sure, you know, it is not overly personal, it is sanitized, and it's, they used to say, right, the grandmother rule. If you're okay showing it to your grandmother, you can upload it. If you're not okay showing it to your grandmother, don't upload it, right? So these are some of the things that we can definitely do at home.
And just to add, I think the PIX Pro's advocacy is really to make the people aware outside big organizations like us, you know, make them realize that breaches are everywhere. The attackers are not just attacking big organizations, but simply the end users, you know, people that have access to phones, internet, or their laptops. So everyone's really vulnerable. So we always have to teach the people around us, tell them, never trust anything, always verify, don't click anything, ask mom and dad to the kids out there, because they're, you know, everyone's online, you know.
Mom and dad is your 2FA. Mom and dad is your 2FA.
Yeah, that's right. They can be the 2FA.
Yes.
Yeah, mom and dad are busy.
VP Mia.
Yes. For me, Mr. Chair, no, you mentioned earlier the kids, they just click and click. Actually, my question supposedly a while ago is how do we now help the educational institution and the parents as well, because highly likely the devices that our kids use in online learning, whether it be their laptops or iPads or their cell phones, it's the same device that they are using for online games. And if they do that, then there's a very big probability of you know, kids being exposed to the links that they receive, and that they don't know whether to click it or not. So it's really very important that we help each other. We help our kids. The teachers also play a big role. And for, like Mr. Chair mentioned, if CrowdStrike can cater to the enterprise, then that will be a big help for the parents, for the community, and for the teachers, because there's a lot of platform that they use today. The kids, they have their own emails, right? They have, I don't know, they have the likes of Schoology, Qubits, what have you. So many applications that they need to access to because of online learning. And most probably they use the same credentials and passwords, right? Because they're kids, they cannot remember a lot of passwords. So it is now becoming the job of the parents to really help the kids, no? For us in the cybersecurity space, as much as possible, no, we teach our kids to have different passwords for different accounts. But for others, it's really very hard. So if there is a technology that, you know, can help parents, no, ordinary parents that is not, you know, exposed to technology, then it will be very helpful for them.
Sabi nga ni Oka, ni Oka Bisaya, the comment niya doon sa sabi ni Uchi. No? Uchi, that means we need to educate mom and dad as well. Because there's very few of us who understands technology. And there's very few of us who can teach our kids the right ways in dealing with technology and connecting to the internet, right? So our kids are lucky to have us because we do understand. But I can tell you, tens of millions of parents out there, they all they can do is connect to the internet and log into their
Browse.
child's, and that's really scary, right? And as per Hoven, no, Hoven said here, it's funny that he taught his friend about how to make password more secure, and he end up forgetting it because of the complexity of what password he made. So the tendency, if you create complex passwords, you're gonna write it down, right?
Yeah.
Or you're
Right.
gonna save it
Even your
somewhere,
phone.
yeah. So it's a good thing. I'm guilty. I'm into technology, right? But I'm still guilty of using the same password. I think I have 5 passwords that I keep on reusing in my different accounts, because if I use another password, I will have to ask my assistant, Shari, to memorize or to store the password somewhere. Otherwise, I won't be able to log into our, all those.
So
Yeah.
I can't do much about memory, right? There's nothing I can do about it. But when I first started, someone taught me how to make a complex password, right? You would not imagine that every time you create an account, there's a username. Okay, that's easy. And then you have to create a password. And then you think, okay, how do I make a complex password? And then you're like, you know what? I give up. I'm gonna type my old password, right? So one of the trick that was taught was that if you just take a set of lyrics that you like, right, and you just use the first letter of every word to create a password, right? that itself would form a large part of a complex password. So I'm very sorry I cannot help you with the memory piece, but at least I hope that helps you create a complex password more often.
I came across a story. He forgot. He was trying to log in, but then it kept on saying that he is the password that he is encoding is the wrong
Correct.
password, incorrect. So he went to change password, and then when he typed his new password, it says you cannot use old password.
That has happened to me before.
Especially it's imagine Sherry, in the Philippines. This is my worst nightmare when subscribers or consumers in a massive scenario gets compromised by a ransomware. It's gonna impact everything. Nobody can use the internet. That means the ISP will be impacted. No one can do ATC. You know what ATC is, Sherry? That's a very scary 3 words right now. ATC. Add to cart.
Oh,
Add to cart. No?
yeah.
So every day that millions of users are not able to use their laptops, then there's an economic impact also on buying, right? Online buying, because nobody can add to cart, and we have not seen yet a ransomware infecting mobile phones, smartphones, right? If we can, the moment these attackers can realize that mobile phones are, I think it's the most important asset right now to everyone, our mobile phones. If that phone can be encrypted, people would pay for a ransom just to get back their smartphones.
Yeah.
And there's billions, 4 billions.
Yep. So, I mean, I think it goes back to there's no silver bullet, right? Corporate or consumer, there's no silver bullet. But as consumers, if we look at what the corporate is doing, we try and simplify it and we apply it into our personal lives, right? So, like what Sanket mentioned, if we backed up our data, ransomware, so be it, right? Or we'll change the device, I can retrieve it. If I worry about whether my children are on inappropriate websites, just constantly monitor the websites that they go to. If we worry that their accounts get compromised and pedophile and this kind of inappropriate stuff happening, then let's start by teaching them how to create complex passwords and all that. There's no silver bullet, right? At home, in the office, unfortunately, we at the end user, as the organization, have to get it right 100% of the time. The attacker only needs to get it right one time. So is there a winning to that? I'm not sure that there's a full winning formula if we look at the odds.
Even if we know that we are not winning, we still keep on fighting.
We have to try, right? We have to try because we're talking about the lives of our children, the lives of our family, our mom and dad using technology. We talked about children using technology, right? We should have a session on teaching our mom and dad how to use technology. So it's a much larger, what's at stake is a lot larger than we can imagine.
Oh, it's already 6:07. We are 7 minutes past our schedule. Now, I don't want to hold you guys any longer. No? So for our guest from CrowdStrike, it's too bad that Sanket needed to drop off. But can you share practical advice or suggestions to our viewers on how to stay protected and how to stay safe and secure from all these growing cyber threats? Maybe we can start with Uchi.
Yes, sir. As I've mentioned earlier, we should always, we should never trust whatever pops out of our screen, our cell phone. So always verify, always change our passwords religiously, because attackers now are getting more sophisticated and more smarter and intelligent. So we have to be smarter than them, diba? And ganun talaga eh. This is the cyber world. Breaches are happening everywhere, any time of the day.
Well said. Well said. VP Mia, don't forget to invite Uchi in your Pix Pro Cares program.
Oh yes, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we have a very highly suitable panelist for Pix Pro Cares for parents, no? For parents to be able to protect their kids. Okay, Miss Sherry.
I think let's communicate, right? Whether is it with our children, with our parents, with people within the community, because whether it's enterprise or consumer, the statistics stay the same. We have to be right 100% of the time. The attacker only needs to be right one time. So the more we can come together to share ideas on how to protect ourselves, our community, our enterprises, the lesser the chance that the attacker will have to kind of hit us at the end of the day.
I like that. That's also what I always tell our friends in the community. We need to talk. We need to talk. And as Uchi pointed out, you need to be very, very paranoid all the time.
Yeah, we need to have shared intelligence, Sir Angel, diba? What we know, we have to share to the community.
We should. You know, that is something that is really lacking until now especially in the Philippine setting, because only a group shares information, and then the other group is not sharing with other groups. I think that is something that needs to be done in a holistic perspective, in a national perspective, that everybody must share information, especially information on cyber threats that are ongoing or already happened, and those that are still to happen. VP Sheila, may party kaya yata pupuntahan?
Yes, I have a party, so I need to go. No, just kidding. So
That's why you're so pretty.
thank you. Thank you again, Sherry and Uchi. So I think my takeaway from what Sherry shared a while ago is really baselining the behavior. And I think I can apply that to my child's life. So the moment we get too caught up in our daily, work, all the things that we do, sometimes we disengage, right? And that's the moment that sometimes a behavior actually changes from our kids and our family. So always be engaged, always monitor, and just be part of their daily activities and the things that they do. Thank you.
Thank you, VP Sheila. And VP Mia?
For me, Mr. Chair, I believe that it is always a shared responsibility between the organization or between any organization we are in, and of course the users, no, both adults and kids alike. That's all, Mr. Chair.
VP Alex?
For me, Mr. Chairman, the critical part here is a mindset shift to all of us, no, not only those who are in the corporate, but we as parents, as individuals, as consumer, our kids, our brother, sister, everyone in the community should have a mindset shift towards paranoia and continuous vigilance. So I agree with Uchi. Never trust anyone. Do not trust. I mean, should be zero trust, right? And you need to always, the protection for yourself comes within you. So do not depend on others to protect you, but rather you should devise a way to protect your own. That's for me, Mr. Chair.
Ang bibigat ng mga the parting words are heavy, no? Because it's not easy to be, if you've experienced just a Facebook account that's been hacked, you will really have a sleepless night. No? It's not a very good experience. How much more if your desktop or your laptop at home was compromised? No? If somebody is sending you messages that are unwelcome, and you can't do anything. As my friend told me when her Facebook account was compromised, she said, "I'm very helpless. The attacker is doing a lot of noises, a lot of things, and I'm helpless." So before that happens to us, let's remember what our panelists today mentioned. Be paranoid, Be talk to your kids, talk to your neighbors, talk to us. Let's talk to each other, right? Let's share the responsibility and share information. I think this is the way we can. This is the only way we can effectively combat these cyber threats. I may be a victim now, but if I share the information to my friends, then they become safe, right? So if you became a victim, share the information to your friends, then your friends, your family, your relatives will be safe. We will be able to avoid a catastrophic incident wherein the whole community is compromised. But of course, let's never discount the option of having a good technology that can help us in protecting and securing our assets, our mobile assets, our laptops, our desktops, or personal computers. Let's not discount the fact that we need technology like CrowdStrike here, no? Especially if you are an enterprise, small, medium, or large enterprise. This is something that's really can help you with your fight against the growing cyber threats on a daily basis. And with that, we are very sorry. We missed the timeline, which is 6 p.m. We are now at 6:16. And again, it's Friday. So what can we say? Happy weekend to everyone. Unfortunately, in our world in cybersecurity, happy lang, walang weekend.
That's it. Thank you, Sir Angel. Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you,
Bye.
Chi. Thank you,
Thank
Cherry.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Take
Thank you,
care.
CrowdStrike
Happy
team.
weekend.
Thank you
Happy
very much.
weekend.
Thank you.
Happy weekend. Uchi, usap
Thank you,
tayo.
sir. Yes, sir. Let's do that.